we wanted to talk about an important topic. It's a timely topic about summer planning when we say for personal growth and college admissions. And throughout this talk, I'll be showing how they're actually often one in the same if we truly think about what colleges are looking for. In some ways, personal growth sounds like a fantastic thing, and maybe we'll get that eventually in our lives, but we really need to care about college admissions. But in fact, the stronger you are as a person, suddenly you are very good for college admissions. But we'll show how that ends up sort of aligning very well and how to view it from the right perspective, so that when we're looking at summer planning, it's less of a monolith versus an opportunity for what we call personal growth. My name is Jonathan Ginsberg, President of Beyond Education Consulting, and let's hop in. Okay, so before we hop in, and when we're speaking about personal growth, I just wanted to first mention briefly our company, who we are, what we do. And I know some of us on the line right now, I know some names, I don't know all the names, but I'll introduce briefly. Essentially, we provide a suite of education consulting services, tutoring, test prep, college consulting, college planning, internships. But what's very important for us, this idea that college education is meant for a bigger purpose in your life. What are you truly hoping to accomplish in your career, for your goals, for yourself? And if we can help students better understand what that is, suddenly the whole plans improve. Suddenly the motivation of a student improves. Suddenly their purpose is stronger, and they lead a better, happier life, and in the process get into a better college. Now, of course, that involves different aspects being fulfilled. They have certain academics, they're going to have certain activities, they're going to have certain things that they need to get done in order to go through that process. But now suddenly each step has purpose to it versus being something that, oh, well, you ought to do. Well, everyone should get A's, right? And you should go to a good college, and that's good for life. Really, we all want to think a little bit deeper to help students, once again, identify their strengths, where they ought to develop, and help them to get there. I'll jump in now to our next slide. So before we hop into how to plan for summer, it's important to first consider what our college is looking for. And just to give it a little bit of a lens, let's take it to the most direct question that we get asked, and a great question, and a question that we in turn asked one of the admissions officers at Berkeley. Used to be assistant director, he's still a reader for many, many, many essays, Tim Ravey, who we had in a webinar not long ago. So we asked him, it was almost like a silly question, almost a dumb question, almost a little embarrassing to ask, but I was in a room with him once. I said, Tim, what's Berkeley looking for? What are colleges looking for? Expecting to get a very vague answer, to get, one that you kind of see on a website and that's not really useful, but it kind of sticks to the script. And he didn't do that. He said, we're looking for three things. I was like, okay, I'm going to write these down, right? I got my notebook, I'm all ready. And he said, we're looking for smart people. They got to be smart to get into Berkeley, right? And now, of course, there's no test scores anymore, and we'll see how long that lasts or if it changes. But let's say that's achieved through your GPA. And for many other schools, GPA plus test scores. And due to the fact that college admissions is mainly a self-selecting process, meaning that students who are more capable for the school tend to apply for the school rather than those who cannot get in, it's 80% of the students are roughly have the academics to get into Berkeley and any top school. And then how do we whittle it down, right? They don't have an 80% acceptance rate. That'd be great, but they don't. Well, the next idea is, are they passionate, right? If they're smart, then are they doing something about it, right? And how do they know that? Well, that's starting to be expressed through the extracurriculars, right? What are you doing outside of school? What are your activities? And then into the essays, right? Where they can determine that as well. And that's maybe cutting it down to 40%. And then he said, at Berkeley, at least at Berkeley, and at many schools, we believe if you're so smart, you're so passionate, you can do a lot of good in the world, or you can kind of not care, or even make the world worse. And we want to determine whether we think these people are nice. And he said the word nice. He didn't say socially conscious. He didn't say, caring about the environment. He said nice. And I think that's an element that's often forgotten in the process, that we definitely spend special attention to within the essays, but we ought to spend special attention to throughout the development of the student. And that, once again, if they're so smart and they're spending a lot of time on what they love, in the process, are they finding opportunities to improve their surroundings? And not in an artificial way, Not in a way like, oh, I'll go to this, old people's home and play the piano even though I hate it, but just through the course of your work, through the course of what you're doing, are you being mindful of your surroundings? Are you being mindful of your community? Are you being mindful of your society? And if you are, inevitably you're going to make positive impact, and the nice part is going to be very clear. And there, a term came up, not from Berkeley, but I borrowed it from a lawsuit, which is a great place to borrow things from. Harvard was sued, right? And I guess it's going to go to the Supreme Court. Like it stopped, now it's going back. But the idea was that they're discriminating against specifically Asian Americans, and that will be determined in court if that's okay or not. But the word they use for how they choose people, one of the terms they use is called likability, which sounds like a tremendous scapegoat, and perhaps in their context is to a certain extent, but it goes back to this idea of nice, in that if you read someone's profile, what they've done, how they spend their time, how they put forth their energy, how they express themselves in writing, do I like this person? And I'd argue that's not super subjective. That if I put 10 applicants in front of you and you see the transcripts, you see the activities, you read the essays, more often than not, you'll agree on who you like. So I just wanted to leave this as the backdrop before we get into the question of what should I do this summer? Because if you're not thinking from the right perspective, it's a really hard question to answer. And I just wanted to put that out there first. Now, I wanted to also state, if you have questions throughout, please do feel free to put them in the chat, and I'll either get to them while we're speaking or I'll get to them at the end. At the end, we'll have more time for questions. Okay, moving on. Now, what is an activity? We get asked this too. Can I do this? Can I do that? What is this? So the short answer is everything is an activity. And for everything from, if you take care of your younger brother because your parents work, that's an activity. That's how you have to spend your time. If you work at McDonald's or a milk tea shop, that's an activity. You do some volunteer work, you like to do reading or write fan fiction, that's an activity. You do art, you're involved in different clubs in Model UN, you're on the tennis team, you do an internship. Everything you do outside of class is an activity. Now, it doesn't mean it will be on your college application specifically, maybe not. Doesn't mean it's providing tremendous value to you, hard to say. But everything you do outside of school is an activity and can qualify as such. Regarding the specific materials that you submit to college, you're looking at 10 activities in your Common App, right? So it's quite a lot of things you'll get to mention if you care to mention them. It's like, okay, so this is not a useful slide. What are activities then? Well, let's not view it as defining a vague word. Let's look at phrases that may capture the goals of activities. So they are an example of an exploration of an interest. You're involved in some sort of club to learn more. You took some sort of class to learn more. It's an exhibition of a talent. Maybe you are very heavily involved in hackathons, you're into computer science, and that's how you express it. They're a window to your life, going back to that idea that maybe you take care of your younger brother, you cook dinners because your parents are gone. That is something you do, and that's an understanding of who you are as a person, how you grew up, what circumstances you're in. Somehow it must be important. And lastly, I want to say there are opportunities for learning and impact. And learning meaning not necessarily related to a specific subject, but that an activity has taken on what we call the nature of an experience, and that you got something out of it. So you learned about yourself, your values, somehow you were forged by this activity. And we always say impact, opportunities for impact. What does impact mean? So oftentimes, a lot of the words that are used in college admissions serve as proxies for ideas, because words are simpler than ideas, and words can be expressed, and ideas are harder to really state. So a lot of people will go, I need volunteer work. And sort of, colleges care that you care about the community. But volunteer work can be super narrow, or at least the traditional methods of volunteer work. Well, in reality, they just want to know, are you helping out people around you? Are you making positive impact on people? So I'll give you an example of sort of title versus impact. Every single school has a school president. To be the school president sounds nice, but it's actually very meaningless. But if you are the school president and you do great things. You make certain key policies that change things for the better. You were listening to your students and you kind of made a coalition perhaps, and somehow you made some positive change. Well, now you turn that opportunity for impact and into something that is worth talking about, that is valuable. And we like to call these fuel for the essay fire. The idea is eventually you're going to write essays, and people also say, what is a great college essay? And the answer is it's oftentimes the accumulation of great experiences. So if you're asking 12th grade how to write a good essay, well, we would have loved to talk to you in 9th and 10th grade. And in reality, through the years, if you're planning things appropriately and you're putting forth effort in a productive way, we're not worried about what to draw from for the essays. It will just be, okay, maybe a matter of packaging. And there's different ways to go about it to make them stronger. But no matter what, if our logs are good, if our activities are good, then our essay fire is going to be great. It's going to be a whole lot easier to make it burn well. We're not going to have to put the bellow on it and try to make it bigger than what really is. Okay, so we should be thinking about, now that we know what activities are and perhaps some concepts of them, want to consider goals for summers. Oftentimes goals for summers mean getting your standardized tests done. Those are still valuable. Still, the majority of students getting in early into top colleges are submitting scores, and they're generally good scores. So we say, try to get this done by junior year. Is it because colleges care? No, they don't care when you take the test. But you as a student probably care because you get really busy in junior year. So if you're capable to get it done early, why not? It's a great thing. If not, your life will go on. But we try to have students do that by junior year. So oftentimes summer can be a good time to plan some of that. Skill building. The idea is, if we are to help you better understand what you want to do for your future, oftentimes that means learning skills that are not available or offered in the classroom. The world's changing. There's lots of software to learn. There's lots of professional tools to learn. And always considering the next step of that, meaning I want to learn those skills because I want to have my own project. I want to contribute to a club in the school. We get a lot of students who want to do a lot of things, but maybe they're nervous. They don't feel they can contribute to the robotics club yet. They don't feel that they can join, the yearbook. They don't know certain design tools, or they don't know Arduino yet. So you want to consider, do I need to learn more skills? And you also probably want to get the majority of this done before junior year too. So that way, between 11th and 12th grade, you can be focusing more on professional type experiences or something where you're really applying knowledge rather than learning knowledge. So in that, you also want to consider possible internship research experiences, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. We have a lot of really good resources for that. Of course, there's a lot in the open market as well. And those are typically coming around, the summer before junior year or the summer before senior year. And all throughout, considering the idea of, is there a possibility I'll be making some social impact, and I want to consider that. And then also, ought I be working? Would I like to work? And knowing that there's value to work, and the colleges don't see that as nothing. They're aware that, doing a manual labor job or a job that's not super fun and showing up every day is meaningful. So anyway, just considering, what are our goals here, right? And yeah. So I want to take it back one more time to the college application idea, and before, any more. So when you're submitting your applications to college, you don't get to show everything about yourself, nor do you necessarily want to, but you do get to show a lot of things. And they all ought to connect in some logical fashion, in that each element, from your classes to your recommendation letters, to your essays, to your activities, are going to show different aspects of yourself, but they should logically connect together because you are one person. So that's why we show the jigsaw puzzle idea. What is your theme? So we have a picture, I don't know anyone, I think some people probably know, but this is Alice Waters. She founded Chez Panisse in Berkeley and is just super famous as entrepreneur, chef, but also sort of the mother of the farm to table movement, organic movement. And if we were writing, for her college application, well, what are kind of key qualities we'd want to show that we would want the admissions reader to grasp out of her profile? Well, definitely very creative person, strong communication, so she was able to make really a social movement out of food, and compassionate. The idea is she cares about this thing very deeply. She cares about our environment. She cares about the experience of others, all wrapped up into this one person. So as we're considering summer, well, what's kind of our theme we're shooting for eventually? And do these activities, do they help build on those characteristics that we believe are strong in the person? Creative communication, compassionate, is not branding as much as it is recognizing the innate qualities of somebody, their strengths, and then building upon them, making them better. So we may be approached with the question, okay, that's great, but should I go to Stanford Summer School, right? Whatever you said was great, but what about Stanford Summer School? Should I go? Stanford, I like it, Stanford Summer School. And the answer is maybe, it depends. And that's when we have to really go back to purpose. Stanford has a lot of great summer options, right? They have the Humanities Institute, they have medical research, they have a lot of really cool things. But what is the purpose of X, right? If we're looking at, let's, using Stanford Summer School as an example, but we first must consider, what is the purpose of it? Is there a step 2? As in, will I gain a skill I plan to use in the future? Will I gain experience I can leverage? Is this necessary for my life? And the idea is there's no bad activities, but there are missed opportunities. We definitely get students to come to us, by senior year, and there's a lot of things they're passionate about. There's a lot of things they care about, but they just didn't get the exposure or get in touch with that subject early enough so that they could have more development and sort of make it their own. It's more just sort of a hypothetical wish in their head rather than an actualized skill set and accomplishment. So we like to not think in terms of activity and then is it good or not, but rather what are we trying? What's the goal for the summer? What sorts of skills should we be building? What sorts of experiences should we be going for? And then after having figured that out, look at the programs themselves. But I want to also give a little overview of just what's out there. It seems to be just an unlimited number of options, and it's only growing, and schools make a ton of money on this, and a lot of people make a lot of money on this, and a lot of people, and it brings a lot of confusion into what's good, what's not good, what's the definition of good. So first, there's a lot of university programs out there. Almost every university has some sort of summer program. And they're going to largely fall under credit or non-credit, meaning the college edge, Columbia University, you get credit for that. And so you take a class and you take it with other students at Columbia, and it's great, right? And maybe that's good for you. Maybe you want a college course. Now you could also be doing a community college course and you'll get the same credits, and it may not be a tremendous difference for what you'll learn or what you get out of the experience. Hard to say. But then there are a lot of non-credit programs that are very great. For example, Engineering Summer Academy at Penn, that is a competitive, strong program. You don't get any course credit at Penn, but you're going to be alongside very competitive students and in some cool classroom type environments and working on projects that you can't do elsewhere or during the school year. There's also Stanford Humanities Institute. You don't get credits for going there. It's just 2 weeks. But we had a student who was very interested in the classics. They have a great class about ancient Rome and sort of parallels to what's going on today. And that student loved it and eventually made a classics club at his school. He was already learning Latin and Greek on his own. But anyway, that made sense for him because he was going to use that knowledge he got in a useful manner. And that was something that made sense for his profile. And then there's going to be ones that are competitive versus non-competitive. So meaning that how selective are they truly? And non-competitive doesn't mean not good, but it just means they're going to take most of the people that apply. So Columbia also has an online summer immersion. It's a much shorter program, a lot of good options, but it's not competitive. It's Columbia, so nobody cares if you got in. Once again, it's all about what are you going to be doing with that experience. Getting in means very little. Means you just paid. But if you get something really good out of the experience, then that can be valuable. Stanford Institute of Medicine Summer Research Program is a popular one for our pre-med students. That is competitive. By virtue of getting in, it means something. But if you can get in, that means you already exhibit the qualities to a college in a pretty clear manner, because guess what? Getting into the SIMSRP program requires the same sort of format as applying to a college. You have to show your transcript, you have to write an essay. So It's sort of self-fulfilling. But once again, the truer value of that program would be what you're going to get out of it, and is it relevant to your profile? Are you going to be able to leverage that in a positive way? Otherwise, to just do it, well, you were already good enough to get in, which means you would have been good enough for the colleges just from in that context. And then there's going to be your non-university programs, which can be great. It just depends which ones and also what the goals are. So Cosmos is a super popular one for our California students. It's run by California State Summer School for mathematics and science. And they have really, really cool clusters, you know, that you just, well, they call them clusters, they're just classes, but certain areas of learning that you just can't touch usually in school learning. And they have really good labs and opportunities. They're hosted at a lot of the different UC campuses in California. So, you know, quantum mechanics and applications to nanotechnology, sustainable aviation systems, some really cool options. And that's a pretty competitive program. Research Science Institute, I'm just throwing it out because we had a student to go there. One of the most competitive programs in the world, 80 students, 50 in America, 30 international, and it's held at MIT. It's not run by MIT, but it's held at MIT. It's a nonprofit, it's free to students. And basically you have to put forth a research proposal and they say, great, you're gonna be allowed to do the research here and we're gonna pair you up with a suitable MIT mentor. So it's really, really cool. But I'll tell you this, the student we had that got into RSI, you know, it was not, to join RSI was really more a way for him to pursue research, which was the product of what he'd been doing for years. It was not to see, oh, should I apply to RSI? Is that good for me? It was, I've been doing independent projects for years, and I have a new idea that I've had some success with. And I believe RSI, what they provide, that context, is gonna be the best place for me to pursue this project. Is if you're creating an idea for RSI, it's almost too late, if that makes sense. If this is a multi-year progression, and then RSI is just a vehicle for you to do great things. And that's what they feel they must be. They can't be the prize. If they're the prize, you're missing the point. They're the vehicle. So what are you really trying to accomplish? And do you have a track record which shows in? What are your goals? And then what program will serve as the vehicle for you to get toward those goals? And then the program will think, great, we need this student. Not the student saying, oh, I need you. It's more a really way to approach it. And then another one I put in the Digital Media Academy. It's not competitive. You just sign up, you just pay money, but they teach things that are really useful for students and they're really practical, and it's hard to find elsewhere in a professional setting. So if you want to learn MIDI and beat making, you know, music production, they do a great job. If you want to learn 3D character animation with Maya, they do a great job. Fusion 360, you want to do 3D printing and you want to do other types of online design, they do a really good job. So that might be the good choice for you, despite the fact that it's not competitive, despite the fact that no one will quote unquote care that you did it. If they were just looking at that one singular activity, then they wouldn't care. But if you take the class there, you learn something great, you create your own project, you bring it into a club, you build upon that skill in a substantive way, well, that was a great thing. That was a really useful you know, use of time and money. All right. So I want to give an example of a student we worked with and what we advised and how we got there, and just to kind of walk through the process. I call it for reference only, sort of, as in you can sort of learn from it, but don't try to be this person because everybody's different and we do the same process with every single student and the results are different no matter what. But I want to walk through it because sometimes an example is most illuminating rather than just rambling. So we had a student, 10th grader, Southern California. He came to us and his background, he's a good student, a lot of A's, a couple B's. You know, he was good in art. He did a lot of drawing, and he was solid in STEM. I'm missing a letter there. So he was solid in STEM, and he felt maybe physics should be his major. He was good in physics. And it was also during the pandemic. He didn't have much experience. He had some low-level robotics, you know, club experience. And he learned a little bit of Java and seemed to like it. So it's like, okay, you have some capacity within technical skills, but it's not really so much your passion. He could really sit down and sketch for hours and hours. So we'd say the wheels start spinning. So first, we decided, okay, well, we need to do an exploration of these interests. He's a little, not say lost, but he's unsure what to do, and we first evaluate student strengths. In this case, it was, clearly art, and he had this STEM capability. So then we're thinking, did he go, what kind of, does he do design? What kind of designs? 3D designs, product designs, industrial engineering? Well, we said, well, regardless of the specific way it may go, we know there are certain key competencies he probably should have, and that will be useful no matter what. So first, expose him to the field, and he just got involved in sort of a cheap online Udemy class. Udemy is a provider of online courses targeting professionals, but is also super useful for high schoolers. They always show up as like $200, but they're always on sale like 90% and $20. So we have students sometimes in a sort of cheap way to explore interest, sign up for a class, do it for a few hours, get some skills, see if you like it, and then see if it's really worth pursuing more, or you find out you hate it and maybe we need to redirect things. So he did like the idea of creating designs online. He'd never done design on the computer. He'd always done it 2D. And then we're like, okay, let's get you into the Digital Media Academy, which I mentioned before, into their 3D printing and product design with Fusion 360 and Ultima Cura class. So then he got experience using the software, which can be a little intimidating for students to self-study. And going through the program, you'll have some deliverables, so you'll have the confidence to start from zero and finish with a product and know how to do that. And that confidence is super important. That's what will bring you to be able to work with others or joining organizations or somehow making that skill useful rather than just a set of knowledge points in your head. So, why did we have him do this? We thought no matter what, this is critical software for several design related fields, and he needed sort of guided training for just more efficient progress and make it effective. And at the same time, we had him begin his sort of portfolio work, knowing that he may apply to majors which require a portfolio, meaning examples of artwork, examples of designs, and okay, we got him in connection with our arts portfolio consultant who, kind of gave him the breakdown of what kinds of artworks he should begin working on with some periodic evaluation of them. And he also did his SAT that summer. So just get it done. And he had a good score. So moving into 11th grade, then it was like, okay, you have skills and what do you want to do with them? What's the purpose of them? You want to merge the skills with your passion and goals. And that's not easy to do, and that's not easy to know. And it's not like we figured out in a day, but we're thinking, if you can do these things, what would you really like to leverage these skills? What would you like to accomplish? And he's like, well, I care about the environment, and environmental, sustainability is really cool. He would read a lot about it no matter what. And he was always inspired by those kinds of designs. And we're like, well, is there any sort of issue you think you could solve or that you could make efforts to solve? And so we started thinking in that way, what could be a great use of his time? What kind of problem could he potentially solve? And he has a twin sister who also helped to get into college. And she, would they use the same bathroom, right? They shared a bathroom. And they would dispose this beauty product waste, right? And it would just kind of be a mess in the sink, and there were like these little microbeads that would go into the sink. He just knew this was bad for the environment. Not really supposed to throw this out in the sink, but it happens all the time. So he's like, I think we could come up with a better design for that. I think there's a way we could, have a design to sort of filter out some of these harmful properties. And he recruited a couple of friends. He was on the basketball team, and so he knew people, right? So although he was not the star of the basketball team, he's not going to go to college for basketball. He had friends, and it's probably good to be involved in a few different activities, even though they're not quote unquote directly related to college or your major, because you are a person and you want to have friends and be social and be active. And suddenly, he had a couple of close friends that he was happy that they were happy to work on this together. So they sort of had a prototype going, and at the same time, we helped him to get more hands-on practical experience doing online internship at it's one of the Office of State Sustainabilities of a local county, a California county. A lot of the counties have Office of Sustainability, and one of the supervisors there, and he was like, yeah, he looks good, right? He has some skills, and it only worked out because he had skills and something to show already. So despite the fact that we made the connection, he had good things about himself that he could bring to the table, and it was so good that he was actually able to eventually present that sink filter to the county, and they actually put it in some of the municipal bathrooms. So from really coming in technically not knowing what to do, really ready to give up art, all this stuff, suddenly through some careful analysis and targeted planning, he ended up producing something really, really great. And when it was time to write his essays, he had a lot to say. We didn't have to really struggle to think about what we want to talk about. It was, okay, maybe how we're going to frame it, how does the narrative go, what details we want to focus on, but we had a lot of great things to say. So he's at Carnegie Mellon now for industrial engineering. So that was great. And his sister's more on the fashion design side. She's at Parsons. They actually both got into Rhode Island School of Design too, which was fun, but they didn't want to go there. So that's just one example of a student we've worked with, how they developed over time and how we leveraged summers to skill build, exhibit skills, and contribute to their overall goals. So what we can do for you? That Uncle Sam is actually a parent right now. What can you do? What are you doing? It's okay. We love it. Please ask me, what can we do for you? The answer, I believe we do two things well, and they're the two important things. Identify skills or gaps in your profile that will bridge you towards your goals. Without that, everything else can very quickly be pointless or feel like you're doing a million things, but it's not going anywhere. So realistically, what are your goals, and therefore, what are the skills you need, or what are the gaps in your profile that we want to fill so that you will have the experiences that support your goals when you're, for yourself first, and then that fulfill what colleges are looking for. And then if we identify those skills and gaps, can we provide such opportunities? And there's lots of third-party programs perhaps, but we also have a great inclusive network of professionals and companies to work with students, whether that's through internships, trainings, professor research, and that's super important. That not just providing a light guidance, I think you should try this, but good luck on finding it. We have to really make that connection when it's most needed. And so that we're very proud of and very happy to do with our families. So anyway, we work with a lot of companies, work with a lot of people at those companies, and they've been, yielded great results, and they're really passionate to work with students. So if you are looking for something this summer, I'd love to talk, although, not necessary. And we also, a very key part of what we do, if a student is going to be doing a program with us or some kind of internship, we always really value the idea that it's a mentor-led internship or opportunity, meaning that there needs to be someone at that company, there needs to be someone in that organization that's invested in your success as a student and as a professional. Otherwise, it just sort of dies. You can be there and maybe you sat in on some meetings, but did it really matter? Did anyone care? Did you really go anywhere? So that's a really big thing. We have, I put up Gil Bradshaw. Anyway, he's great. We had a student, begin with him in the legal internship, did a really good job. And he was later invited to co-write an academic legal paper because, Gil, he is an adjunct professor at a law school in Southern California. And the student came to us, he's like, am I allowed to do this? We said, yeah, he's your professional connection now. This is awesome. Go for it. So we made that initial connection, but now he has his own network. Now he's doing amazing things, on his own. And it was all there. We just had to make that initial connection and help bring it out of him. But we see some awesome growth, and just knowing that there's somebody at the organization who really does want to work closely with the students. So we feel all different backgrounds. There's just a small list of some people we've worked with in the past. So let's review. So you want to be purposeful with all of your actions to the extent that you can, meaning it doesn't mean everything is perfect, but you should have a goal. You should have a next step in mind. And then, of course, review it. Was it good? Was it bad? Should we change? Also, be honest with your needs. Be honest about skills you need to develop on. Are they communication skills? Are they writing skills? Are they technical skills? Let's use our time wisely, and let's really, look inward and see what we really need to do. And also always be impact driven, meaning that if you are making the people around you better or somehow making an organization better, then you're almost always doing the right thing. And if you're creating a great positive impact, that's almost always the best activity. Once again, the specific what in terms of the title, the specific what in terms of the very baseline details is very, very rarely super interesting are super important, but the kind of impact you make is really where you start to shine as an applicant, where people really understand the person you are. So after I read your activities, do I want to have a lunch with you? Do I want to get to know you better? Do I like you? Going back to likability. Do I want to accept you to join my campus? And when someone looks at what you've done, things you've worked on, they should get that feeling that, wow, I'd really love to, if only this person, I could talk to them more. I really want to know what's going on, with their life. I really think they would be, a great asset to our campus. That's kind of what you want to be going for. And I was like, say, I'm very proud of our results and where our students go to college and all the fancy logos, but we're really proud that when students come to us versus where they end, they've grown a lot, and that they have a lot more clarity about their goals, because you can go to a good school and you could really struggle. What did I go here for? And now I have no idea what I want to do. And you can definitely do poorly at a great school. So you want to get into a great school and continue to strive and continue to do better. And we would say, don't believe me, don't believe anyone at our company, but believe our reviews, because they're all 5 stars. And we're very proud of that. So I like to show those. And of course, we have free consultation, a million ways to contact us. We're, I'm not gonna say always around, but we're pretty available. And please, if anybody has any questions in the audience, feel free to ask, and feel free to, write in a comment, whatever it might be. I'll give everyone a minute here. Obviously, you don't need to put your question into the chat. You can always email us. You can always contact us separately as well, or hit the QR code and we can have a chat.